So we have seen basic workflows. So how a workflow works and what are the actions it is going to do, right? So, and we have seen some different criteria also. So what we do now today is we continue the same topic. There is something to be discussed in the workflows. Go to workflow rules, continue, right? So if you take this as example, welcome email, edit it. See here we have three options: created, created and every time it is edited, and created and any time it is edited to subsequently meet the criteria. So we got these three options. So what is the difference between these three? So we have seen the option created. Whenever the record is created, only when the record is created, not when it is updated. Only when the record is created, it is going to fire this workflow if the criteria is satisfied. Okay. So let me tell you with this example. Take any of the existing leads. Okay. So already it is created and workflow rule is fired when the lead is created. But now what I'm doing is I am editing it. Okay. And I'm changing my email. Right. And I'm saving it now. So it won't fire because in the workflow rule, what we have mentioned is only when the record is created. Only when the record is created, if the record is meeting the criteria, then only the workflow rule will be fired and whatever the action you defined in the workflow rule, that is going to be performed. But here we are updating the record. We are not creating the new record. We are just updating it. So in case of updating, it won't fire the workflow. Okay, so no action will be taken. And what is the second option? Created and every time it is edited. Okay, so here click on save and I will show you with the one example. So here when the record is created, if the mentioned criteria is satisfied, then workflow rule will be fired. And whenever you are changing the record, whenever you are updating the record, every time whenever you are doing some updation to the record, then also the workflow will be fired. Okay, so forget about the criteria, whether you are modifying the criteria or not, it won't consider it. Okay, so whenever you are creating, it will be firing, and every time you are editing, then also it is firing the workflow rule. Okay, so every time it is edited means it has to satisfy the criteria also. Okay, without criteria it won't fire, right? So let me show you this. Right, so we'll take a fresh record, we'll take new record, and what is our criteria? Lead must be having some value, right? So I am giving this, right? So I am saving the record. Now I should get one email. I got it. Okay, 0 minutes ago. This is the email I got. Right. Next, what I am doing is I will modify the record. So I may edit any field. Okay, I may edit any field. I am modifying this record here, and I am keeping the same email. Right, now save, and again I should get one more email. See, I got one more email. right? And again. Now also I should get email, right? So whenever you are editing the record, even though you are not modifying your criteria fields, then you are going to receive. Actually, what is the criteria here? Email should not be null. So we are provided a valid email address here. You are not modifying your email here. You are modifying some other fields. Even though you are modifying some other fields, again you are getting the emails. So that means, if a customer is getting emails continuously for even small changes in his account, then he may be getting irritated, right? So that is why we don't use this one, because whatever the field you are going to change, then the customer is going to receive your email. So there is no use of it. Okay, so most of the times, I have not seen any case where we are using this kind of thing, okay, created and every time it is edited. And we cannot add any time dependent workflow actions here. Okay, so we have seen, we have to discuss that. So there are two kinds of workflow actions: time dependent and time independent. Okay, so time dependent means if you want your workflow to perform that action in the future time, then you have to create a time dependent workflow. Okay, so immediate workflow and time dependent workflow. Immediate means whenever a record is created or it is updated, if the criteria is satisfied, then we are going to receive a email, right? So in this case, you are not able to add your time trigger. For time dependent workflow actions, this is not supporting. Okay, next, what is the other option we have? Created and anytime it is edited to subsequently meet the criteria, right? We will see this. So save. What it is saying? Created. Whenever a record is created, that is fine. If the criteria is met, then it is going to fire workflow rule and action will be performed. And when I am creating the record, there is no criteria specified. The criteria is not satisfied. Okay. In future, in future, a particular user may come and edit the record, and at the time the criteria may meet. Okay, so let me see first when I am creating the record, I am able to receive email or not. Create one new record. Right, click on save. So I should get email now. I got it. Okay, right. So 0 minutes ago, this is the one I got now. Okay, so when I am creating the record, I am getting the email. Next, what I am doing is I will update. So if you are updating the record, you will not get any email. See, you will not get any email. That is the major difference. You will not get any email. Okay, because the criteria is when it is created and anytime it is edited to subsequently meet the criteria. If you are doing some modification to the criteria fields, then you may get. Okay, but whenever you are modifying any other field, you won't get. But here in the middle one, whenever you are creating, you are going to get an email. But whenever you are editing in future, whenever you are editing any of the fields, then again you are going to get. But here whenever you are editing any of the fields, you won't get. Okay, but when can you get? In the future time, it is mentioned that anytime it is edited to subsequently meet the criteria, right? So whenever it is edited, what does it mean is, do this, remove the email. Now you changed it, there is no, the criteria is not satisfied. Save it. You won't get any email. You are not getting any email because there is no email. Again, what I do is I give some value in the email, maybe the same one, save. Now you are going to get, see, I guess you understood, and let me explain once again. You are clear with this thing. Whenever a record is created, you are going to get, the workflow will be firing its action. Okay, the workflow will be doing its action. Right. In the next case, created and every time it is edited. Whenever the record is created, if the criteria is satisfied, you are going to get the email. And in future, whenever you are updating any of the fields, you are going to get the email, right? And here, whenever you are creating the field, whenever you are creating the record, you will get if the criteria is satisfied. And in future, if you edit any of the fields, you won't get email. When can you get the email? When you are doing modification to your criteria fields. Okay, so you have to empty it first, and again you have to give some value. Okay, so straight away you can ask me. So I will go and change the email address. So mere changing the email address also will not fire it, because the criteria is satisfied already before only. Okay, so what I do is now I will change the criteria. Okay, I will change the email address. The last option I have taken. I will change the email address and let me see whether I am going to get or not. I changed my email address. Okay, even though you change your email address, you won't get it, because you have to empty it first. You have to empty it and save it, and again fill it with some value. Then you will get. Now give this email, and now I should get email. Right? So got the difference? Okay. So again, when you are creating the record, the workflow, rule criteria is not satisfied. In this case, in the middle one, whenever you are creating the record, the criteria is not satisfied. Okay, so but in future, some person may edit it and he may update some fields so that the criteria will be satisfied. Then in that case also, you are going to get email. Okay, so whenever you are creating and every time it is edited, right? So we have seen the example of created, but when I am creating my record, the criteria is not satisfied. Let me create one new record. Oh, whenever I am creating, yeah. So now the workflow rule criteria is not met. So no action will be performed. Now some user may update the record. Okay, and he may give some value here. In that case, you are going to get email. Right. So this is the one. Yeah, 0 minutes ago. This is the one. Okay. So even though whenever you are creating your record, even though at that time the criteria is not satisfied, but in future if the criteria is satisfied, then you are going to receive email. At that time the workflow will be firing its action. Not only just email, you may have a different action like outbound message or field update or creating a task, something like that. Okay, so we have the same option for the last one. Whenever you are creating the record, if the criteria is not satisfied, maybe in the future someone edited it so that the criteria is satisfied, then you are going to receive the email. The workflow is going to file the action. Okay, right. Any doubts here? So please be careful. This is very important. In interviews, many of the people will focus on this. Okay. So what is the difference between created and anytime, every time it is edited, and what is the difference between created and anytime it is edited? Created and every time it is edited means whenever you are creating the record, the criteria is satisfied. But in future, if you are modifying any of the fields, you are going to receive email. But here it is not the case. Okay. So that is the main difference between these two options. And for the middle one, you cannot add any time dependent workflow action. Okay. For this middle one, you cannot add any time dependent workflow action. But for the first and the last one, you can add time dependent workflow action. So we'll see what is a time dependent workflow action. So you cannot add directly a time dependent workflow action, because first you need to deactivate your rule. Okay. So see here, it is clearly mentioned you cannot add new time trigger to an active rule. Okay. So first to deactivate this rule, you can deactivate here, or you can deactivate here also. So I am deactivating my rule. Right. It is deactivated. Now I don't need this to be performed immediately. Okay. So this is my immediate workflow action. Delete it. This is my email alert. Delete it. Delete. Right. So now there is no workflow action. Now you can add your time dependent workflow action. Click edit, add time trigger, one day after rule trigger date. Okay. So what is the criteria I have given? One day after rule trigger date. So when your rule will be triggered, whenever a record is created, right? Whenever you are creating the record, the rule will be triggered. So when you are going to get the email, one day after your trigger date. I mean, if you are creating the record today, you are going to get it tomorrow, right? Save. So add workflow action, new email alert. So to the email field, right? To the email field in the lead object, you have to select it. Okay. Now, if you create a record, you won't get your email immediately. Okay, because we added a time dependent workflow action, right? There is no immediate workflow action. Okay. Right. So let me check this one. Go to leads. So I need to activate it, right? I have not yet activated. So I deactivated, but again I have to activate. Activate. Okay. So now it is activated. Now go and create a lead record and check. Right. Now check whether you got the email or not. You should not get any emails now. Okay, so this is not the email, we got it now. This we got before. Oh, we got it now. My training, no. Test time dependent. Yes, we got it right now. So what went wrong? Go to your rule. See, we need to add workflow action here, but I added it here. That is the reason I got it here. Okay, so I have done a mistake. I should not add my workflow action here. I should add my workflow action here. Email alert. Right. So there is no immediate workflow action here, but there is a dependent workflow action which fires one day after rule trigger date. Now again go and create a record. Save. Now I should not get any email. No email. Okay. Right. So I am going to receive it tomorrow. Right. So this may be helpful for you in the scenarios like if a customer is having some membership and in 15 days it is going to expire. So I will write a workflow rule saying that before the expiry of 15 days he should be notified. Okay, so I will take the expiry date, and what I write in the criteria is expiry date minus 15 days. So in that case I am going to receive email before 15 days of my membership expiry, so that user will be notified like your membership is going to expire, so kindly renew your membership. So if you wanted to give any discount for him as he is a existing customer, then you can, right? So that you can improve your business, right? You are just automating the business. So it is not really good if a customer care representative is calling and your membership is going to expire. Do you want it to continue or not? So it may not be good to call each and every customer and asking them to renew their membership. So you can automate the business, right? So that is the user workflow. Okay, any doubts here? Yeah, Jay, any doubts? Okay, you said that yes long before, so I thought you just said now, right? So any doubts? Right, we will move to next topic and try to practice with the workflows. Try to create some time dependent actions and time independent actions. Immediate workflows. Okay, so you will get some idea if you do that, right? So I give some example. You try to practice it. So go to your account. Right. So do one thing. Sometimes there may be a scenario like if there is a prepaid customer, take this example, there is a prepaid customer and he wanted to move to postpaid. Okay, so you have to process this from the backend. So take some criteria. If you wanted to create fields, you can create. Okay, so whenever you are modifying something from the front end, automatically the record type should be changed. See here in the accounts, we have three different record types, right? So prepaid, postpaid. So a prepaid customer wanted to become a postpaid customer. Okay, so using workflows, you can update the record type. So you have to create some fields and you think in your way, when can a prepaid customer becomes a postpaid customer? Do we need to add any information? So if you need to add information, create fields and add that information and put the same in your criteria and try to update your record type. Okay, so I have not shown this to you. I will show. So see here, if you click on this, there is no record type. So if you wanted to see that record type here, you can. So just edit layout and add that record type field to the layout. See, you got account record type field, right? So add this record type to the layout. So what layout it is? It is prepaid customer layout, right? And see, you can see your record type. Okay, so have some fields, create some fields. If you did some modification, I mean, if you provide some information in that field and the criteria has to be satisfied and workflow rule must be fired, and you have to do field update, to which you have to do, to which field you have to update your record type field. That should be converted to postpaid, right? I guess I have given almost all information. Just try to do this one. Prepaid customer should be changed to postpaid. You should not do it manually. Okay, that should be done by a workflow field update, right? Try to practice it. If you got any doubts, you can ask me. For this, definitely you have to have some fields. If you provide some information in that fields and if you provide the same in the rule criteria, then the rule criteria will be satisfied and you can add field update there in the workflow actions so that the field will be updated, right? So try to do this.